Yeah, I mean, I think people have thought that I am everything from, male, female, of different races, nationalities. And I like this, uh, in a society, in a culture, especially American culture is so visual and so about image. And, um, I think for a time I wish that I could just be invisible and just be a voice, because that way people are just responding to the sound and not from this other kind of judgment that they have. But I also think it's been important to be who I am and be seen as who I am, and still with the voice and lyrics and the content of the music, that people know it's coming from me, whoever I am. Yeah, although for yeah, I think it's much different. I think they did what they was important for them to do, and perhaps what's important for me to do is to not be invisible, because so many women are invisible, I think, and or they're a kind of cartoon, and people say, oh, it must be a man who made all their music for them and they just sing or whatever. So I think for me it's been important to actually be visible. I am an American, yep. um, and I think I'm, America's, you can be so many different things and be an American. My grandparents, on one side, my grandparents were from Eastern Europe, or their families were, and came to the States in probably between the two world wars. My grandpa's family came before World War One, I think, very early. But they were immigrants from Eastern Europe. My mom's parents were more generations back, but they were from the South, from Kentucky. So they were they went to the mountains and were Southern Americans and had this, a tradition of that kind of folk song. And I don't know if anyone in Turkey is familiar with American sort of Appalachian folk music from that. Who knows? It's a lot of fiddles and banjo, things like that. So those are my roots, and then the history of American music is often a history of Black American music and how that has influenced American pop music. So, and that's all across American pop music, I believe, is this influence from from African American music, and then since the 80s, probably since, I'm trying to think, there's always been this fascination with music from around the world. And in my family that came in folk music, that, probably there are recordings of Turkish folk music or folk music from around the world that would be introduced by people sort of, exploring music from different parts. And then for me in the 80s and 90s was when I was exposed to African music and African pop music. So it's, in other words, a lot, many influences. And I think that's what it means, not just to be an American, but probably to be a person in this, a young person in the world today. We know we have the internet, we have we have so many influences. Let's see. I had an experience being a backup singer for a friend of mine. That was the first touring that I did as a musician, and that was really important to know that what this kind of lifestyle is, because you're in a new city every day, and you go to the sound check, you check everything, you eat dinner, you do the show, and then you get up the next day and drive. So that was this first taste that I had of this lifestyle. Yeah, yep. It was again, it was a sort of, it changed my mind, and I needed to learn really fast what that was, to get up on stage and have everyone, try to make them look at you and say, this is, you should be listening and watching me. Already so much. I'm just looking out the window and seeing it's just incredible. Are you aware? I mean, it sounds like most people are aware of how special it is as a city. Maybe. It's just there's no place like it that I found in the world. That's a good question. My opinion about record labels has changed somewhat. First, I don't think that you need it. I think that I went a really long way without one, and in fact, I think it was because I went so far without a label that the label was attracted to me. Because if you can work hard and show, look, I have these many people coming to my concerts, I have this recording, I have this performance ability, it's much safer for them to say, oh, okay, like she's doing well already, let's let's take her. I used to think you didn't need them at all, and that perhaps a musician would be better off without one, and that you had, you could have so much more freedom, and without a label you might be able to have more creative choices, etc. And my experience with 4AD has been sort of the opposite. I feel that I've really gained from being with them, in that, for instance, we've done this tour. We've done, I think, performed in 13 countries. That's in Turkey. It will be our 13th country just in the past month, and everywhere that we've gone, there's at least 100 people there waiting to see us. And the only way that they know about that is because there are people, saying, oh, Merrill can do an interview for your magazine or for your paper, and this kind of publicity that I wouldn't be able to do all on my own. So I think in that way it's really been really helpful to get the music spread around to places that I wouldn't have been able to do myself. But I don't think it's necessary. I think too many bands wait for a record label instead of just, there's so much that you can do by yourself, booking shows and traveling and recording, all that, without very much money. You can do a lot. I think it's a process with the voice. Because, I didn't wake up when I was 8 years old and start going, oh, with this particular voice. It was a process of singing when I was a child in choirs and things. And then when I was in university, I sang with a group of women, and we would do covers of pop songs. So, I would sing like Stevie Wonder or U2, or, there were these songs that I was in charge of singing the lead on, and that gave me a real experience of, it's sort of like wearing somebody else's clothes, like put on Stevie Wonder's jacket and then pretend to be with your voice. So that also was this a building of confidence. I was in front of people singing all these pop songs, and I think that it was a great training for what I do now, obviously. But I think even when I was in my first band, my voice was different. I think it's just practice and practice and more practice of hearing my own voice and not, feeling okay with it or feeling comfortable with it. That every day I feel more that way. Sometimes my lyrics are a way to explore something that I don't understand. I think certain songs like Eso is a song that is pretty abstract on purpose, but those are they are my thoughts and experiences. But I think a lot of songs are very what's the word? They're very literal. Like when I wrote Eso, it was in the sense of walking and these thoughts that pop into your head, maybe. And here I'm thinking about this, and then I'm thinking about this. I think it was mostly the record label that had the idea. They always try to have these ways of involving fans, which I want to. Every night. Yeah, we do it every night. For me, it's a way of separating, us as people from us as performers, that now it's a show, and so we do something different, and that's been an important part of, I guess, the ritual of it. Well, we resting a bit, a visit with my sister, but we have to work on music for we're doing a score for silent films, for Buster Keaton silent films, in late April. So I'll start working. It's a collaboration with a woman. Ava Mendoza is a woman guitarist in the Bay Area, and so she and I are working on this kind of score, scoring all these films, and they're, really funny and lighthearted films. But so I'll start work on that when I get back.